Awesome. Yeah, so as Anki said, just want to present about delivering the tenant experience platform. I know, this is a mobile meetup. I've taken a bit of a product approach to the presentation in terms of sort of showing the lessons learned and the challenges that we face as it pertains to delivering an app. So I don't know if anyone has heard the term tenant experience, or text for short. But it's essentially the interaction between tenants of commercial, retail and residential properties with that built world. So it's taking, your day-to-day within a commercial building, let's say. So that's where most of our buildings at the moment are deployed, in commercial buildings. And really making sure that your experience within that building is as world-class as it can be. And then the tenant experience platforms, it contains, I suppose, tenant-facing features and operational features as well, to help accelerate sort of the offering that the commercial buildings can give to users. The offerings can be anywhere from sort of booking your coffee, ordering your coffee, booking a meeting room, to be able to use the mobile app for scanning in at turnstiles or the front door. And then operationally, it's around seeing, your occupancy stats, measuring leasing information and things like that. So buildings are incredibly complex. There is tens, if not hundreds, of systems within buildings that actually make it run from day to day. This is something, when I was joining CBRE, that I did not realize. So my background is sort of fully product. I've worked in lots of different industries and not just property management. And that's been a very interesting sort of learning journey for me, and for a lot of the team as well, who have had that experience. So we, in general, when we get approached by landlords and clients about our app and the features and functionality that they were requesting, they will ask for an average of 56 different features. So that is just a tip of the iceberg in terms of what happens behind the scenes to make a building run. So some of here, just some of the items that you can see. So from parking within a building, booking those amenities, then you start looking at utilities detection, elevator control, building management systems, HVAC, which is your air conditioning and ventilation and heating, occupancy, allocation, space planning. For landlords, it's an asset. A lot of them are investors, and they really want to see that growth. They want to see their occupancy as high as possible. They want to see the best tenants within their buildings, and they really want to offer sort of above and beyond, what the competitors are offering, to attract those A-grade tenants, and then retain those tenants. So a lot, especially now with COVID, it's not good enough to simply just offer, a nice space with good amenities, a kitchenette, maybe a good coffee machine. You really have to focus in on those added benefits, whether that's a wellness room, maybe additional events, and then also making that space feel like a community, so people actually want to come back to the building and also feel safe to do so. So a lot of that will be looking at COVID safe features, like the ability to, as I said, scan in to a building using your mobile phone, and I suppose call a lift from your phone. So obviously people don't want to be touching surfaces as well, and accessing car park. So as much as we can automate, that's what we're being asked to do. So I did want to give a bit of a demo because I do think that will paint a bit of a picture and then go into some of the complexities that we've faced. So I'm just going to reshare. My puppy's on screen. So on the left, you will see the admin portal, and then on the right, you'll see the mobile. So I am on iOS at the moment, but we do develop in native, so Swift and Kotlin. Within the application itself, we offer different levels of services. So we deploy as a platform product which can be a limited subset of our features, which is called Host Connect. We then elevate that, offer more of our features in host building, which contain many different clients and many different buildings within that. That's our sort of host branded, non-white labeled version, which is what I have up here. This is just our demo building. And then we offer the ability to white label your apps. So, oh, sorry. You can see this is just some of ours. I think we're sitting at about 50 or so white labeled apps. So I will go into some of the challenges that we face in terms of deploying that. Within here, so the demo is just simply a showcase of a couple of our features, and all of this is run by the CMS you see on the left-hand side. The CMS is sort of based on PHP, and we've got currently 5 developers working almost around the clock on this one. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and this offers several layers of admin control in terms of what you're publishing and what you're doing for the building. So at the moment, I'm logged in as a building administrator, which means that I can go in here, manage everything that you'll see on the left-hand side, and create content. So I could go in here, create an event. All of our event management, food and beverage functionality, space booking, we do offers, surveys, polls, they're all natively built. So I will show you, I've got a slide of all of our integrations, which the list keeps growing, but for most of the functionality, they are all natively built. So what you'll find is that we are building out features and functionality that sometimes rival, maybe your Deliveroo might not quite rival Uber Eats, but we have had Deliveroo use our product in some cases and give us actually quite positive feedback. But it's just a showcase of kind of the breadth of features and functionality that we do have to develop. So rather than, it being sort of Uber Eats or Eventbrite that can focus on one single product and deliver that, we do have to look at it quite widely. All of these can be paid services. So as you can see, I can order a fresh juice, again, with all the extras. This is backed again on Stripe. So we've got the Stripe SDK embedded within this. One of the interesting pieces of information with this is as we go global with it, what we find is obviously Stripe is not available in every single country. It's also the fees can be a little bit much for some of the, I suppose, Asian countries, or even some of the European countries have asked, if we can use different providers. That is one consideration if anyone is looking at ever adding in payment systems within their applications, to definitely consider sort of a robust method there. We also have the ability to add different integrations. So on the right is an example of our mobile access. This is one of our more complicated one in that there are so many different providers out there. We get asked, every building has a different access control provider, and every time we get deployed into a building, it is a new ask to integrate with a new provider. This was one of our earliest ones that we did with HID, and it simply just loads the mobile credential onto the phone. If I was at a reader or turnstile, I could just simply tap my phone against it and access it. What that's doing in the background is talking to the access control system, which is usually quite a large and complex system that operates all the doors, turnstiles, etc. within a building, and all that, where you're allowed to access, all that information gets added into that system, and doesn't sort of touch the tenant experience system, but we obviously have to integrate with it. Some of the other features are around so polls. We can issue sort of polls within the app. These are show some questions to the user. You can show the results back to the user. This is all leveraged for our building managers and tenant experience managers to really engage those users, to ask them what they would want to see within the the building more. It also is used sometimes in pre-leasing. So if you are actually moving into the building, or they are in pre-PC is what it's called, where the building might not even be complete, they might issue this and ask some of the tenants that will be moving in what they'd like to see there, whether they would like to see what type of trees they'd like to see on the outside, things like that. So it really allows them to engage more within that ecosystem. We then have lots of kind of ways to target the content to users. We've got interest groups which you can, sign up to. So if you're more interested in wellness content, items like that, you then from the profile, you can sign up for those interest groups, and then as we sort of build that profile about you, you can get different information shared to you based on the categories that each of these items are shared to. There's also some automatic membership added in there. So if I did attend a wellness event, I can automatically get added into a certain group, which then can be targeted some additional content based on that behavior. So within here, probably Anki can attest, because I think he was working with us while we were building a lot of these features, but this menu page in terms of its flexibility. So because we have so many features within the app, this is fully dynamic between the style that can be applied, the order that it can be applied, the size of the cards that can be displayed. So just want to show you another example. Each of these have different sort of features and functionality behind them. So one will be, so in this example, it's a food and beverage piece. Another will be the events, and they all are attached to a particular action. That action then determines what it will open and present to the user. It also assists with the linking from the home page in terms of these cards and how to link the user through. So there is quite complicated, I suppose, logic running behind here in terms of, as a user, I can sign up to receive certain pieces of content within those interest groups, etc. Or I can have been put into targeted groups by an admin. So if I was assigned into a group here, So all of this content is very personalized to me. It might not be the same homepage as somebody else will see. And it's the same for the tiles on this page as well. Some other interesting little things we've done at, not sure I actually have a example on this app, but is linking out to third-party websites. So we've developed the ability to transfer securely via JSON web token any information about that user, obviously with a consent from that user, and then transfer that to that third party that is loaded into the web view here. So unfortunately, this hasn't actually come up with my details, but this should come up into, if I haven't already registered, into a registration page with my details filled out, or it will come up with my account. So a lot of the time we'll work with third parties when we're doing integrations to make sure that, you know, if they can offer that, and if they'd normally show, I suppose, a sign-in page or a login page, that we can work with them to authenticate the user straight into that account. I'm going to pause here and just ask if anyone has any questions or would like me to sort of go into anything a little bit deeper on the demo.
I don't see any questions from the audience yet.
Awesome. Thanks, Anki.
That's here.
Yeah. So going back to, and you can still see my screen. I think I'm sharing my whole desktop now.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to the list of integrations that we have at the moment. So this list is definitely growing and is probably one of the biggest complexities that we have. As you can see, it is quite a large list, but if you can imagine back to my statement that each building wants a minimum of 56 different features, and every building usually has their own provider. They're not always the same. You can imagine how many providers globally that we would need to interact with and deploy to. So one key area that we're looking at is leveraging some other providers, middleware providers, to be able to assist this. So that would be taking some of those integrations, taking a step back, you know, determining what the user experience will be. Let's take visitor management, for example. Usually that's quite a straightforward flow in that, you know, you're inviting one or more people to a building. Depending on if we can access the access control system and determine what floors you have or can invite a user to, you can choose that. And then add those users' details in and a date and time that you would want them to arrive at the building. So what we're attempting to do is put a very generic interface across that, put a middleware sort of layer where we abstract all of the API details from the different providers. So at the moment we have integrated with 2 visitor management platforms, ACX and Sign. But obviously we want to grow that to be able to handle many more. As you may know, each API will be a bit different depending on that provider. So really we want to try and speed that development up by doing that. Another challenge that we're looking at, and you know, it's quite an interesting challenge. I don't think we have actually got to solve just yet, but is the need to include many SDKs within the app. So at the moment on the right hand side you can see mobile access. be it HID, OpenPath, Gallagher, Castle, IDQ. Some of these will use Bluetooth or NFC to, I suppose, engage with the readers and let users in. Others are looking at things like QR codes, and now starting to look at the Apple Wallet, and well, Apple Wallet currently more so. I think the Google Wallet will follow suit. So yeah, for us to be able to dynamically load all of these features without having to rebuild and redeploy and track, 70 individual different applications across the globe, and obviously which platform they are using and which integrations and SDKs they have. We have gone ahead and included a lot of those within the application so that we can simply just turn them on and off. As you can imagine, this is leading to quite a large application bundle. We do see some, I suppose, interaction between some of the SDKs, which has been a very interesting learning experience, in that host doesn't use the keychain to store any of the user's information at the moment, but some of the SDKs do and have leveraged that. We had a very interesting deployment where one of the providers no longer worked, and it took us probably over a month, maybe a month and a half, to determine that it was one of the other SDKs that were actually deleting the keychain that third-party SDK needed to be able to proceed. So yeah, very interesting complication. So big lesson learned for the team here, and it's something that we now know to look out for. We also, within this as well, we are looking at other third-party middleware providers who have SDKs, so not just at that API level, but SDKs that will interface with other different providers. So on the bottom right for services is Braxos. What this does is offer their SDK, which then interfaces into platforms. We use it for destination lift control. It interfaces with Kone, Schindler, all the large lift providers, and allows us to abstract that, only have one SDK rather than many SDKs for those providers, and is something that we are looking for mobile access and lift control as well. To add to that and the complexity, we're also looking at car park integrations. So oftentimes the car parks will have a different system. So the access control system in the car park will obviously interface with the building's access control system, but it can be a totally different company or system as well, and potentially different hardware. So these are sort of a lot of different integrated parts that obviously can cause issues within the application. Any questions on any of that?
Thanks, Val. Yeah, I don't see any question from the audience. So for everyone, if you have any questions, please click the Slido link. So before we get the questions from the audience, I have a few questions for Val. First of all, I think the menu still looks good. I remember I developed that feature on Android, which is nice. So one question is, so because I think the mobile app has so many features now, are you considering, say, have some standalone apps with just one, or bundle features, for example, one for food delivery, one for mobile access? Because I think your app does better than Castle or HID.
Is that because you built some of it?
I think I contributed to some of it. Yeah.
Great question. So what we find and what our clients want is one app to rule them all, really. So as you can see from this very large list, and it's really growing, is a lot of these have their own app. In fact, I would hazard a guess at almost every one of them, maybe not quite Firebase and Campaign Breeze and things like that, but the goal from our clients is that the users don't have to swap apps to be able to interact with their building. They don't have to kind of know, oh, I use the HID one to open my door, I use the Parkable one to get access into my car park, I use the iBag one to order my dry cleaning. They really want the one app to be the one-stop shop. In terms of, I suppose, the business, you know, for those natively built features and functionality, we have considered separating those out. So, you know, our food and beverage platform, our events management platform, our space management platform. I think that's really, you know, it is an interesting topic, and it's something that does come up within Host a lot. I think because CBRE is such a large property management company, it hasn't gone further than that, but certainly there's features within the app that could be split off and sold separately.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next question is like, I think as you mentioned, you have like 50 apps, so you may have like 50 stakeholders or hotel groups like you have to deal with. So how do you deal with them? Like if everyone has one feature to do, then you have 50 features. How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, especially for the product side of things. So what we really would like to do is, we're deployed in 12 countries at the moment, 146 buildings, I think, at the moment, or sorry, 146 with our core offering, and then there's 800 on a light offering. So yeah, what we do is we kind of go to market a little bit and make sure that we are looking at the large providers within those regions, so that we're not simply just integrating with a very small local provider. We have done that in the past. So if a client is willing to sort of pay for that custom development, we have done that. But we do try to make it as generic as possible. So like with the visitor management, we try and think about how the interface would look in a generic way, and then build it out outside that. Yeah, and then in terms of just asks on the natively built platform, we just sort of manage that. We produce a roadmap. Our roadmap does change. We have account managers and client delivery managers who sort of assist product in terms if we have to change roadmap, and you know, there's something that a client really was looking forward to and that's come off the roadmap, you know, how we deal with that and things like that.